game, as we are going to get into the draft very shortly. It is being done on a third-party website because we don't have Riot accounts, and not everyone has every champion in the game, so it's done online. We won't know the exact draft order, but we will be able to see all the picks and bans as normal. So, as we get into our second and final game of the series, I hope everyone is doing fantastic. And I believe everything is ready to go. I'm still alone. I have nobody here still. I thought we might have had a chance to get someone in for the second game, but no, unfortunately we don't. So I will be solo casting again, be that for better or worse. And if you just give me one moment, I don't know what is delaying us. But yeah, obviously last game, both teams drafting comps that want to realistically run at each other, which I personally find the most entertaining to watch. I think, everyone knows Azir Corki meta. It's quite a, what's the word for it? Infamous one. Thank you. As I will just get. We can. Okay, so I think we are going into the client draft just about now, and there we are. So we are in. As I will. The Gwen is being taken away, and I think this game we do have Invul on blue side this game. So I will, if you give me one moment. You can hear the effects in the background. So Karthus again, Gwen Rek'Sai, and Karthus, excuse me, taken away again. But we are going to have Invul on blue side this game going into this draft, and I have done it again. We don't talk about it. This was poorly organized. Here we are. So the Akali early pick coming in for Armored Dragon. I am a very big fan of Akali personally. If for people who do know me, we are going to get. I love this. Is again, obviously you have the Malphite that wants to dive back line. You have the Jarvan that's going to be jumping on people. Akali is going to be jumping on people. Shyvana is going to be jumping on people. Definitely some of the most fun comps to watch. The Victor pick doesn't make sense to me really, because obviously Akali is quite good into that Victor. Victor tends to struggle with champs that are going to be jumping on top of him, fighting in that can close that gap, fight at melee range. And he is playing with a team that want to run in. So I don't really know. But well, I mean also the Akali pick could have come a lot later in the draft, which would make more sense, but the Victor with the Malphite and Jarvan also doesn't really make much sense. Also, we have the Camille to Malphite matchup. Camille pretty much stomps any tank with her true damage, and when she builds Thunder, she obviously has that extra % max health damage, which is converted to true damage on her Q2. The Misfortune coming out, and not a single champ on either team is the same as we had in the first game, except up until right this second with the Tristana being pulled out again. And it's a Pyke this time instead of an Amumu into this Misfortune, and the support that I can't see yet. Yeah, okay, so we have a Karma MF bot lane against Tristana Pyke. One of these bot lanes obviously typically wants to be, sitting back, poking with the Karma, the MFE, the Karma Q, etc. And then you have the Triss and the Pyke who really want to be jumping at you. And then in mid lane we have, it's not really looking very good for Invul straight out of this draft. Obviously the bot lane it's not the worst matchup. Obviously Pyke does do well into enchanters, so I could see them winning that one. But this top lane and mid lane matchup with the Akali into the Victor and the Camille into the Malphite could make top side for Invul very tough in this game, with obviously two very difficult matchups for them. We have the Shyvana jungle as well, which we don't see very often. Jarvan we don't see anymore, but he used to be a very popular pick. I do quite like Jarvan though as a champion in terms of pro play at least. just because, you know, just the way he plays. He likes to run in, he likes to fight early, he wants to do all these things. It's you know, it's like I said, it's not zero quirky, it's not, you know, sit back poke, it's not boring to watch basically. But I am a fan of both of these drafts. It's a little bit confusing, at least with the top side of the Victor. I still don't know how I feel about the Victor really. I would have liked maybe an Oriana or something. Obviously Oriana does a little bit better into Akali than Victor does. And obviously you have you stick your ball on Jarvan, he jumps in, or Malphite, he jumps in. Even Pyke or Trist can work, and obviously you have the command shockwave from there. But it's definitely a fun game to watch by the looks of things, which we did have last game, which is obviously very nice. But last game we did have the basically the bot lane was perma-fighting last game, which is obviously, you know, it's nice for Trist because like just the way she likes to play. But now we do have the Pyke instead of the Amumu. Obviously, Pyke does like to play really aggressive early, but he doesn't have that, you know, that comfort, that tankiness that the Amumu does. And obviously, it's a lot less peel for the Tristana, who doesn't necessarily need as much peel. But I did quite like the Amumu pick into that comp. Obviously, Amumu is very, very strong with, you know, high AP, like with AP champs because of the, you know, his passive. It's I believe it's 10% extra true damage based on magic damage or something along those lines. I haven't played Moon in a very long time, however. It was buffed very recently though. I think it would have been 2 patches ago, I think. But it was mainly a support centered buff, so seeing it did look very, very strong in that first game though. It definitely was causing a lot of problems for Lionscreed. Obviously the Malphite is something new. I don't really like it in this game, considering you have 2 AD champs and one of them's basically just going to be doing true damage anyway. But you do, at least for the Akali and the Camilla, you have a lot of CC. You know, obviously the Camilla a little bit tankier, won't be as much of an issue, but Akali really does struggle against CC. So the J4 Malphite definitely going to have to be dealing with her, you know, keeping her off her backline carries, because obviously Victor, you know, not good into it. Tristana is okay, but she does need to be ahead. And Tristana obviously really doesn't like building shield bow. And then as well, you have this Misfortune Karma bot lane who do want to be playing quite safe, but obviously Pyke, you know, he's good into the likes of Karma. He's good into shielding supports because his execute doesn't care how much shield you have. He only cares about whatever exact number your health is on. But the Shiv is something that I am interested to see, obviously, because it's not, you know, it's not the strongest early game jungler. It's not a Hecarim, it's not a Nunu, it's not a Jarvan, it's not a Shaco. Definitely does need some more resources put into it, as we are going to get into the game. But I will go back to my beautiful face, along with my friend Tumbleweed over here for the time being, until we are actually in-game. But Invul on blue side this time, so a little swap around from last game. I personally think blue side is just by, obviously you get the first pick, you get, I don't know off the top of my head what the power picks are for this patch, obviously, because Neela is disabled in NLC, excuse me. Not allowed to be picked yet. Sivir is, however, enabled, and I know Sivir is very strong even after the hotfix buff that she did receive. But we are going to get into game if the League client does not explode internally, which I know, AAA dev, we're asking a lot here. But if you give me a second, we have the Camille actually opting for first strike into the Malphite. Along with everything else seems pretty normal. The Akali going for electrocute into Victor, which is a lot better than Conqueror, but most people historically just go Conqueror. Something that's interesting though is Tristana opting for barrier into this Misfortune Karma lane. And we are going to finally get in game. It did not only took however long it was. I will pull this up if you give me just one moment. Here we are. There we go. Okay. So we have Invul on blue side. Both teams maybe looking for something top. go. We are in game and everything is fine.
Minions have spawned.
Sorry about that. And okay, so I think nothing crazy going to be going on level 1. Both teams just going for a normal 5-point. We have one jungler starting bot lane this time. The Shyvana is going to start bot early. I mean, obviously there's not really much she can do. MF does need a lead, but obviously it can be quite difficult to get that lane ahead if I take my cursor away and not do that. I'm not an observer, if you couldn't tell. Camille, excuse me, just going to get some early poke down onto the Malphite, who did go corrupting pots early, so shouldn't really be too much of a problem. If I fix the pick order quickly, there we go. But I am not a observer, very clearly. I don't think I would make a very good observer, judging by these first 2 games. But obviously, Dusakali is going to struggle a little bit pre-6, actually does in just about every single one of our matchups. Maybe going for something early in bot as the hook does land onto Karma, a little bit of a hail blade pop for the Pike, and the Triss does get 3 autos auto-knee onto that MF. That is going to chunk her down just a little bit, but no crazy level 1 all-ins or anything of the sort. The Camille is going to mess up a little bit, miss the E, and the Malphite going to trade back pretty much for free with nothing to lose on it. Victor, obviously this first strike, it's so oppressive, it does so much damage, there's just so much gold as well from it if you can walk away. And the Kai does land this Shuriken flip, excuse me, baiting out that Victor W cage, which obviously pretty much his only form of self-peel into that matchup. So, but like I said, he'll be fine pre-6. Obviously the Karma, the E movement speed is also going to make hooks very difficult to land. And this lane really is going to push it in the right time. He does go for the flash engage, and the MF does manage to flash out of it. The Tristana bomb almost fully killing her. Excuse me. Some more trades in mid and bot, you know. Obviously, this Akali, if she does manage to land the E onto the Victor, it is a massive chunk of his HP. Meanwhile, he has to basically space and poke throughout the entire laning phase. Meanwhile, Akali has to hit pretty much 1 skill shot to win it. And there is going to be a 3-man gank into mid lane. The Shroud coming out, really not able to do anything. Akali, obviously, such a difficult champ to gank early. Especially if you're playing a champ that doesn't have, you know, point-and-click CC like the likes of Udyr, for example. Obviously, it is like you know she's just a difficult champ to game. If you play jungler, you'll know. But her cooldowns are very long, so you can come back after a failed gank, and it can work. But generally, it's not a great idea. That's exactly what they're going to do. The Shroud, however, is back up. Pyke just going to guess with the Q, absolutely nowhere near. And Akali going to get away for free again. As we are seeing a big CS lead and a good trade in top lane from this Camille. I don't know how she's proccing the first strike as consistently. Considering the Malphite, obviously the Q is quite difficult to deal with, and if she does E at him, he can obviously answer it with his own E pretty comfortably. But Camille, however, is going to get this wave in. Malphite, you know, he wants to scale, he wants to get armor. I don't really like the pick in this game, and there is going to be, I was going to say an all-in and bot. Tristana does turn around, however. The exhaust coming out from Karma. No suns for this Lionscreed bot lane, excuse me, except for Karma's flash. And both of them just going to back off, going to get back, get their items. Obviously, MF, she did start the tier, so her poke is, you know, basically irrelevant. She has no damage items, she can't really do much. But the longer the laning phase goes on, especially if she's building spam MF with the Liandry's Anguish, and we are going to see a quick all-in, I will have to stop talking. But this Camille, she's really just on cooldown, just going EWQ into Malphite, getting the first strike proc, getting some extra gold, doing a nice bit of damage. The Victor is forced to flash out of that Akali E. I definitely think she could have killed him with the Ignite there if he hadn't flashed that. Very well played by him. Camille is going to look for another trade in top lane. Really just doing these short trades on repeat. Malphite pretty much unable to do anything. Obviously his mana costs early game are just so high, it's really difficult for him to play the game. Camille really is going to take over this laning phase for the majority of the game. Still, like I said, the Malph is a weird in this game, but another very positive trade for Camille. But she does take a tower shot, however, which is going to hurt a little bit, but she is going to back off anyway, I think. Maybe going for Scuttle? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, but first strike is up. It is an Ocean Drake. It's been up for about a minute and a half. No one going for it just yet. Neither of these bot lanes really able to, you know, it's a poke versus a all-in bot lane. Neither of them able to do too much, generally. But this Pyke, however, could be looking for something from this bush. Not going to find anything with the Karma slow. They are looking for Jarvan in this topside jungle, however. And I don't think they're going to follow through with anything, because Victor is rotating down, the Malphite is here. Shyvana, however, is still going in. The Akali comes over this wall, does have ult up, obviously one of the strongest level 6s in the game, and this does look like a very good fight here for... And the Akali, for Lionscreed this season, the Akali taking down the Camille, getting her first kill onto the board. Obviously Akali's level 6 power spike really just so strong, obviously the Sork Swish makes it a lot easier for her to get around the map. And she does get rewarded for that roam, as the J4 does fall. And as an all-in onto MF in the spot lane, she doesn't have flash up, but she did use it earlier, and that is going to be a kill for the Tristana. And Invul immediately pulling back that trade. 700 gold down at the moment, but definitely within arm's reach of coming back. Could be an angle for a Drake here for Jarvan, but he won't really be able to get over there in time. Obviously this Akali, the more kills and farm she gets, the more oppressive she'll get onto this Victor. Who really, you know, he needs to farm, he needs to scale up, but he will struggle with that a lot in the early game, and even in late game, he will be a fairly easy target for her to pick off generally. But moving on anyway, Trist maybe gets her second power play here. No, she won't, but the Pyke is coming back, could look for something, but he is just going to go straight back into that river. And not really seeing much from this game early. Obviously the J4 a little bit behind now, which can be a struggle for him, considering he wants to be ahead early, he wants to fight early, he wants to gank early. You know, if you're not ganking pretty much right away in J4, you know, you're doing it wrong with the champion. It's kind of just how he works. Obviously this Akali with this blue buff, the key spam, the E, the passive auto is just so oppressive to this Victor, really struggling to play the game. See if she can get waves in. She shouldn't, on paper obviously she can't match Victor's wave clear, but when he can't actually walk up into the waves, and I will have to stop that as we do get a small engaged bot lane. The Pyke hook does not land, but the stun will not either, and Karma should just be able to walk her way out of this. As MF and Pyke do turn, she is going to look for something out of this. Pyke W and the J4 EQ getting away, and the Akali does die for Tristana in bot lane. And the flash and the ult both burned, but Akali's still picking up that kill, and she's not finished yet. Jarvan and Pyke in very dangerous positions under this tower. Karma and MF both up straight on top of them. And this does look like it's going to be another 2-for-0. The TP does come in from this Camille. The Akali picking up the Pyke, but I think this J4 might fall too. It was the Victor TP, excuse me, not the Camille. Victor is going to look for something here, and that is a kill for Victor, which obviously is 25 hex fragments, which is a quarter of a way to his upgrades. And once he does get that E, it can become very difficult for Akali to impact the map, as much as the amount of wave clear he has. But he is just going to collect this bot wave, excuse me. Mid wave does get pushed in, and the Herald that was taken earlier is also going to get spawned. She is pushed off the tower by Triss, however. That Herald is going to get her a free 320 gold from the 2 plates. As we go back to some more downtime, as both junglers return to their camps, the lanes return to wherever they are. Akali, I think, is going to be picking up this blue buff. She is, which, you know, generally isn't really something we see very much on energy champions, but Akali is someone that, you know, she can play in extended trades, she can win these long fights, but ideally she would have conquered those with that kind of playstyle, but it's still good. It's so good, especially when, you know, you don't have ult up, it's really not that much damage next to her head. And the Pyke flash stun does land, and MF is going to fall here. Another kill for that Tristana, making this MF and Karma's life significantly more difficult in that lane. And this Malphite, obviously the Warden's Mail Rush, very, very strong into auto attackers, which I'm assuming we'll see a Frozen Heart early. But Akali is going to look for an all-in on the Jarvan here and is going to pick it up, and that is a 3rd kill for the Akali. And 2 Darksteel stacks on the board. This Victor and the Tristana and the Pyke for that matter definitely going to be in trouble with this Akali late game. But I think definitely in a really good position for Lionscreed here. They are going to look for something in the bot lane. The Tristana is caught out from behind. The Frozen Heart still obviously so much from Shyvana. And I believe there's too much slows, there's too much damage. The Trist is going to fall here. The Shyvana ult's still up, and I think Lionscreed bot should probably look for a Dragon Bite right now. You can see Akali rotating down to this fight. Pyke is going to clear some vision, but definitely an opportunity for a free Drake, which Shyvana is going to take. The trade's still going on up in top lane, however this Camille is pretty much and Malphite could be looking for a bigger trade here. She does E out, however, basically nothing Malphite can do. He has no ability to match it outside of the ult, which he does have up, but when he uses it, she just walks away, and then he doesn't have it if he needs it later. So, I mean, it makes sense that he doesn't necessarily want to follow. As I do figure out how to finally zoom out on the client, excuse me, as Victor does walk back into the mid lane. I could have maybe seen an angle for a dive there, but with J4 so close by, it's really not necessary to. So Akali really far ahead, doesn't necessarily need to take many risks, can just do her thing. God, it really is just so difficult to trade up against that Camille passive, isn't it? Obviously giving her a shield based on whatever damage you do, and obviously Malphite, who is, doesn't really, he does, I believe he does AD damage with his W, if I remember correctly, but, when majority of your kit is AP, along with that Immolate burn from all the tank mythics, excuse me, it is obviously very difficult to trade back with a champion like Camille, especially when she's such a good tank buster. She is going to opt in for the Triforce, however, and that is another big trade for her. Just so much damage coming out from this first strike. And both teams just going back into a neutral position, really. Obviously still a lot of poke coming in from both mid laners. Camille is going to win for another combo onto this Malphite. Not really getting that much done. Tristana just going to dig away this fight ball. As the MF ult does come out, may be able to catch her, but not quite, as Camille really just commanding this top lane. The ult does come out from the Malphite, however, and there is another fight going on right beneath them. I don't think anyone falls here. Shyvana, J4 just coming in time to save the Malphite. Obviously Shyvana is matching that movement, but can't really do much. Pyke is going to get rooted here by this Karma, who is just going to get in some poke. Obviously Pyke going to heal up a little bit of that with the passive. However, Tristana is 1 HP in the spot lane, and Pyke, who is level 6, is going to take the solo kill, but Akali going to pick up 2 free kills here, and using the E on her W to get back. Really well played from her, and this Akali really going to be a problem for most of this game. The Pyke obviously so squishy, can't actually build any HP. The Victor, obviously, it's a natural counter. Victor doesn't like, assassins, people jumping on and bursting him down. Tristana, obviously, she's an ADC. She doesn't like building a Mortal Shield bow. She's against an assassin. Fairly standard. But some big advantages all across the board for Lionscreed. Definitely looking like this game is more in their favor than the last one. Although there is, obviously, this Victor scaling, this Malphite scaling on the side of Invul. Which, if the game goes long enough, it can be very dangerous. Obviously, MF does fall off a little bit late game, Akali falls off a little bit late game. However, Shyvana and Camille also have semi-decent scaling. There's no castings, there's no kills. But both teams, basically, again, there is going to be an all-in, in the bot lane, and Misfortune, I think, is going to fall, but Karma is the one that's hooked back, and that does fall. Tristana getting the W reset off that kill, but the Nimbus Cloak might be enough to get this Karma out, and it is, and I don't actually know what happened there. Tristana continued walking up, died to the tower in the end. The kill did go over to the MF, however, who did rush Manamune, which feels a little bit weird, but regardless, that is going to be a kill for her. Definitely helps her out a little bit. She hasn't been having the most fun in this lane. Another blue buff going to Akali in mid, who is sitting on 6 Darksteel stacks, and as we see, another couple of short trades coming out from the Camille. If the Malphite he can't walk up. If he walks up, she jumps on him, she does true damage, she leaves. It's really just so difficult for him to deal with. Even once he gets more armor on, so it doesn't really do much. And Akali, on top of all the gold she's already got, is going to take the first turret. Victor opting in for the Liandry's Anguish, which, I mean, I could have seen a shout for Crown, but we are going to see a small fight onto the... Looking for Jarvan. The ult does come out, however, Shyvana leaping outwards. Camille somehow managing to get out of that. The Malphite ult from over the wall taking her down. The slows onto Shyvana are just too much, and she is going to fall too? Not quite yet, as the Tristana does fall. He could look for the Jarvan here, and he does, and it's a double kill for the Akali, who is just so far ahead now. 10 stacks on that Darkseal. Really just so difficult for anyone to do anything against her. I mean, if you can pilot that champion, she really just is so strong, especially in the right scenarios like this game, where obviously, you know, you want CC, you want lockdown, you want tankiness, and they don't have, like, all that reliable amount of it, especially in terms of, like, the Malphite is the only really reliable CC you can hit Akali with pretty much every time, because of how much mobility she has. But, you know, when there's an angle for it, there's an angle for it. And they are going to, Pyke and MF going to face check each other. The puck is going to land, but I think the Malphite is going to come to clean this up. Pyke, however, does die. The Karma move speed does manage to get the MF out somehow. And that is going to be a free 1-for-0 for this Misfortune, who is getting further and further ahead. Definitely going to be difficult to deal with when you have a decently squishy comp like Invul's is on their bot side. This is going to be the second Drake for Lionscreed, along with a 7k gold lead. Definitely not looking good for Invul at the moment. But this another tower going to the side of Lionscreed and onto this Camille, who is just so strong with the finished gold, just so much gold. Pyke trying to steal the blue buff, but not quite getting there. And Akali is going to find Triss on this tower, who is going to take the tower with her final breath, as Akali, who did upgrade to the Medjai's early, up to 14 stacks now. And I mean, if there's anything in this game that just makes it bleak, it is just how fed this Akali is. It's really going to be so difficult to deal with it. So Pyke did in fact get the Umbral Glaive first item, which obviously, you know, it clears the stealth wards in one shot. The only wards that doesn't clear is control wards, and even then it's only 2 autos. Very, very strong item. It's obviously contributed to Pyke being a very strong champion for quite a while now. It is, however, a champion that I do quite like watching. I mean, it's not to flame, it's not Karma, for example, where it's just sitting back and doing nothing and poking. I don't like playing against those champs, I don't like watching those champs, but I mean, if it works, if it's getting you wins, it's getting you wins. As the Baron is going to come up in 55 seconds. I mean, there's potentially a angle for it, but they don't really have the damage to do it. Obviously, Misfortune not generally a champion that will kill Baron very fast. Akali is going to be spotted in this brush by the Victor Deathray, who does have that upgraded now, will basically be perishing roads everywhere. I believe he should probably have 2 upgrades by now, if not more. Actually, no, he'd probably be closer to 3 looking at his kills and CS and everything. As Triss is going to look for an all-in onto the Karma. However, Akali is here. The Victor going to fall to this crazy burst out from the Akali, who I think will actually fall here without the help from Shyvana. And that kill is going to go to Pyke, who does obviously give the gold, but the shutdown gold may be worth a little bit more to try and get onto one of your carries. But the main thing is that is 10 Medjai stacks, as the bullet time coming out mid, not quite breaking down Tristana enough. As we are going to see another short trade in bot lane. Jarvan looking for the Shyvana, but really just does not do damage to her. He's so far behind. Really just unable to play the game. Obviously, when you have a comp that wants to be ahead this much, it is quite difficult to do anything from behind. This Camilla as well. Really, oh wow, the flash E coming in. Very clean finish. Obviously, she does get picked off by this Malphite ult. Karma, I don't think, manages to get away from this. She is going to use the flash with that Nimbus Cloak, but will eventually fall once the Malphite heals off cooldown, and there she goes. I think, yeah, Shyvana will just get it safely, but that is a 2-for-1. A very clean kill from the Camille, though. Very impressive mechanics from him. And a third blue buff this game going over to Akali. I mean, like I said, even though she has lost those 10 stacks, she is going for the Rabadon's Death Cap 3rd item, which is going to... When you're ahead, it just increases your damage by so much. It's really going to be hard to keep up with her. And I mean, if you could stall the game out and get Victor all his items, get Malphite all his items, there's maybe potential, but I don't really see it happening. It just looks so doomed for the side of Invul at the minute. However, the Baron is up, and pretty much everyone on the side... Oh, and I'm going to have to stop talking to her, because we have another Ollie on the left mid lane, and she just does too much damage. There's nothing which Tristana can do, as the Pyke is going to get out with his life, but... Wow, this misfortunate ultimate damage, just way too much. It's so oppressive. So difficult to deal with. As Shyvana is going to pop this ghost and look for a pick in the top lane. Malphite going to use that unstoppable force to get away. Camille, however, is going to look for an ult in the top lane, as we have Pyke who falls in the jungle meanwhile. And this definitely looks like it could be a Baron call for Lionscreed. And I think they are going to look for it. They are indeed. And there really just isn't much Invul can do, as Akali is going to look for the pick onto the Victor. Using the Shroud early just makes her life so difficult, but she will get the R2 out. And Jarvan, who is going to look for the pick onto the Akali, along with the Tristana, who almost taken down the Jarvan on her way out, but this is going to be a Baron to Lionscreed. And the gold lead almost at 10,000 gold now. Pretty much the whole team with 2 items. Tristana is going to get a pick with her dying breath onto the Misfortune, as Camille does Camille things onto the Tristana, takes her back down, straight back to the graveyard once again. And wow, I mean, pretty much everyone on 2 items, as Karma is going to fall, excuse me. And the TP is going to come in for the Camille, and oh, this fight is just a complete disaster for Invul. Camille Q doing so much damage. However, Camille does take a lot of damage from this Victor, might need to opt in for a Magic Resist item soon. They are going to look for the all-in. Obviously the Victor's slow from his passive onto his ability is just so oppressive. Shyvana just going to get away with that, as this 3rd Drake of the game is up. It is going to be a Hextech Soul, which is obviously very, very strong. The newest one in Season 11. There was actually no other ones added in Season 11, so keep that in mind. And Akali should be able to get out with her 2nd cast of her ult here. And the Malphite, who is also going to fall, excuse me. Tristana might look for something mid, but I don't think that re-engage was necessary from Camille, but I mean, this Trist, obviously, she's just so far behind, there's really not much she can do. Pyke might look for something from over this wall, but I don't think he can really. Obviously, just, you know, the only heavy scaling picks you really have in that team, obviously the Malphite and the Victor, and it's just so hard to do anything when most of your picks are behind, and wow, the MF ult damage coming in huge. Just taking that Pyke out so fast. Also, this Karma and MF poke is just so oppressive. He is not going for the Eastbound build. He is going for just straight lethality, yeah, it will be straight lethality. He's going to Cyrilda's next. G4 actually did spot the Akali backing in that bush, but decided it wasn't worth the effort of it. Akali is going to opt in for the Lich Bane next, which definitely makes her a lot more of a single target threat, as the 1st Hextech Drake and 3rd Drake of the game does go to Lionscreed. Shyvana, being very generous with her buffs this game, is going to go for the Zhonya's 3rd, which obviously one of the most important actives in the game. Akali might look for an all-in on the Malphite, and he will. The Pyke hook is going to come out though, and it's Akali just doing so much damage. No magic resist items for this Malphite yet. Really just knows her limits on that champion perfectly well. The Shyvana, however, is taking away that red buff. The G4 just, he can't escape. The slow from the red buff is too much. Is going to have to use the EQ over the wall to get out. And just really, Invul just being oppressed all over the map. Really just, they can't look for anything. However, Tristana in the bot lane is picking up what looks to be her 1st tower and an objective bounty. And Camilla is going to look for an all-in, cages the Victor inside. Victor is going to fall pretty much right at the start of the fight. Way too late to get any of his damage off. The 1st kill, excuse me, on the Victor is going to go to the MF. Nothing else from it just yet, however, this Jarvan is so far out of position. Akali is going to find him, and that is going to be another kill, and I think Lionscreed can look to end, potentially. Camille is going to get hooked. She's going to be a slap on the wrist for her, really. Obviously with the death stance, very difficult to damage, and that is a very clean all-in from the Akali. Chris, however, somehow surviving for about 1 second, and Pike falls too, and this is going to be the end of the game. Really quite a... It is a complete stomp. It's been a complete stomp. Lionscreed have won all across the board. Obviously, I didn't mention in draft that both of those top-side matchups were really, really difficult, and when bot lane got ahead, you know, obviously the two main matchups they just win by themselves, and that is going to be game 2 over to Lionscreed. And we are finished, and it has finished 1-1 after all that. Invul showing, or not Invul, excuse me, Lionscreed showing up huge in that last game.